Grindr's president says marriage is between one man and one woman, and everybody's up in arms. This is the focus group.
It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
Bueller.
Laugh. And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is the focus group with Tim Bennett.
Staunch.
And John Nash.
Keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
We're all business. Except when we're not.
Welcome to the focus group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host, Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is the address of our website, and that has all the information you need to know about the show, and that includes our audio and videos platforms and some logos for our partners, which you want to check out as well, plus a little bio about us. So there's our formatics, FocusGroupRadio.com.
All done.
So we're leading up to Christmas. We are 2 weeks away.
2 weeks.
2 weeks officially away. I'm
less than.
just back from London. We went to celebrate Bob's birthday. We had a great time over in England, and everybody was up in arms about Brexit, and Theresa May, and she may be out as of, there's a vote of no confidence coming up, right?
Today, I think.
Today, yeah.
Did you buy any gifts in London for the family or for yourself or anything?
I brought back 10 Kit Kat dark chocolate bars, which I found.
Those are for you.
I found them in the airport, and Bob goes, "Are those only for you?" And I'm like, "No, everybody can have a Kit Kat dark chocolate bar." No, we didn't really do any shopping.
You're not a shopper.
Well, okay, so we went to Windsor Castle. I'd never been. We took the train out.
You didn't get any coasters or anything?
Bob bought an ornament for the tree, a Windsor Castle ornament, and it started to rain when we were there, and rained pretty heavily. And so we ducked into a store, and there was a British guy looking for umbrellas, and I said, we need to find them too. So he found a rack of the little short umbrellas that open up, So he goes, these are only £6. I'm thinking to myself, 6. They're really $8 or $9.
$15.
So as I'm paying for the umbrella, I look out the window of the shop, and you can see the clouds moving away and the sun coming back out. I'm like, oh my God, so that's one of our souvenirs, is the Windsor umbrella.
Did it have anything on it?
It says Windsor Castle.
Oh, well, yeah, that's great.
So the other thing was, while we were doing the tour of Windsor, which I highly recommend if you go to London, to get to Windsor is 26 minutes out of the city, from Paddington Station, and I noticed I'm looking out a window to the interior of the castle, and across this beautiful green lawn that looked like they literally rolled it off a carpet. There's black sedans and black Range Rovers, and there's and they had the guards with the big hats doing the marching up and down. And I look up at this tower, and there was a pennant flying, and I said to this tour guide, I said, "Is that the Queen's Standard?" And she goes, "Yes, it is." I said, "So if the Queen's Standard's flying, she's here." "Oh, yes, she's right back." And she pointed to this area where her private apartments were, and Bob hears this, and now it ain't just Windsor. It's Windsor and the Queen's there.
Isn't that where she is most of the time? She prefers that place.
That's her weekend home, yeah. So she leaves Buckingham and comes to Windsor, or she's there a lot.
Sounds like she's never really in Buckingham Palace unless it's a state event.
State event, yeah. It's either Scotland or Windsor. And while we were leaving, when we finished the tour, they were setting up something called the Waterloo Hall, I think it was. Big, massive room. A room that was severely damaged by the fire from many years ago. And part of the tour is actually talking to you about how they rebuilt sections and how artwork was saved. But beyond that, we went to the Tate Modern. We saw some amazing exhibits there. We walked around. We just enjoyed, walking around London and visiting with friends, and going to a couple of holiday parties that had been arranged, that were happening when we were there, and we were invited, which was nice. And as Bob said, he goes, "I love going to a foreign country where they speak my language." And the only other thing I'll say, and Tim says this all the time too, is their mass transit system is it just
works.
It puts ours to shame.
We haven't touched ours since the 50s and 60s.
So we took something called the Great Western Railroad out towards, you have to go towards Oxford to get to Windsor. So it's west of London. And it's a series of high-speed trains and slower commuter rails that do the local. So we were switching at a station called Slough, S-L-O-U-G-H, although I called it Slough at one point, and one of the Brits just kind of laughed at me. And the announcement will go, "Bing, bing, bing, bing. The train approaching on track 2 is not making stops. Please stand back beyond the yellow line." Once everybody steps back, and then then this train goes whoosh, like a bullet train, flies through the station. So I'm standing next to this conductor guy, and I just said to him, I'm guessing that thing's going 100 miles an hour. He goes, you'd be guessing close. It's 125. It's rated 125 between stations. What more can I say? If you had a train that could go 125 miles an hour in the U.S., you would be in Philly in...
Under an hour.
Under an hour, yeah.
Because it's only 80 miles away. The Acela was supposed to go that fast.
Can't go.
But because of the old infrastructure we have, it can't. But you and I took the high-speed train from Madrid to Barcelona, which was unbelievable. It was like being it was just another world. You and I did a high-speed train from, I believe, Florence to Rome.
Yep.
But it's criminal what's happened to our infrastructure in this country. But we'll leave it at that.
And so the other thing that travel affords me the opportunity to do is to catch up on media or movies or TV shows that I haven't seen for all. You're captive, right? It's a 6-hour flight. I don't sleep on planes, so I watched movies on the flight over, and on the return flight I watched a show you recommended. So going to London, I watched a movie that Lauren at Deep Discount, one of our partners here, recommended highly. It's an HBO film called My Dinner with Hervé. And it's a...
Oh, I saw that.
Did you see it? Mm-hmm. Did you like it?
I saw it.
Garrett's laughing. And by the way, in the booth, helping us bring the show to you, is Garrett on audio and John on video. Gentlemen, 2 weeks away to Christmas.
Getting excited. You guys.
Well, I'm excited because I'm buying myself gifts, but I'm not buying them for other people.
I'm going to Connecticut where the pass is still present. I'm going to see my family in Connecticut, which is always nice.
Nice.
Yeah, same thing. Long Island now.
Yeah,
Long Island,
going
Jersey.
to see family.
Garrett's
like John with Christmas.
For every other part of the year, you and Garrett align. For this one,
yes,
Garrett's my soulmate. We're like, oh boy, do we really have to spend another dime on this? So on the flight over, I watched My Dinner with Hervé. Here's what I'll say. I think Peter Dinklage did the best he could to affect the voice and characteristics of Hervé Villechaize, who, if you don't remember, he was the tattoo, the little guy on Fantasy Island. The plane, right? And there are some really poignant moments in this HBO movie where people apparently recognize him and they'll say, say it, say it, say it. And he goes, the plane, and everybody claps and he signs the thing.
Here's a buck.
But so the Hervé Villechaize we see is end of career. He's actually days or hours away from committing suicide and drinks a lot. It's just a life of just blew all the money. Used to make, what was it, $35,000 a week on Fantasy Island. Imagine that, $35,000 a week, and that show ran for many years.
Maybe 6, 7, I don't know how long.
And blew all the money. Was not a parent. I mean, that was whole thing about the parents, not very loved by the parents. And Hervé Villechaize also played Nick Nack in the movie Man with the Golden Gun. And that's another poignant scene in the movie. And he first tells the story of the premiere for Man with the Golden Gun, and he talks about how proud his parents were. And they show him turning around in his seat. He's wearing a tuxedo, and his mom and dad are clapping. When he later tells the true story, he turns around and they've already left the theater because they were embarrassed because he played a midget that was being made fun of on screen. So I told Bob to watch it, but I said it's uneven, in my opinion. What did you think?
I fell asleep.
I wasn't expecting that. So the other thing that I watched on the way home was a show that you turned me on to, and you said you really need to watch this. It's New York in the 80s. It's gritty. And the show's called Pose, right. And it's on FX. It had its first season. I believe it was renewed for season 2. I was not expecting in any way, shape, or form for that show to be as emotionally affecting as it was. Okay, so I've lived in New York in the 80s all the way up till now, and the New York that you see in Pose is today's New York, with a little bit of dust and dirt thrown in, because they can't recreate what's already been torn down.
Right.
But the emotional stakes in this thing are amazing, and, you know, when you watch a mother and a father kick their kid out for being gay, or the show takes you to a St. Vincent's or something because a character is visiting someone who's dying of AIDS, maybe it's because I was a captive audience in the plane. I had a great relaxing time, but I was really like, I had to stop after 3 episodes because I thought, I better stretch this out because they're good. They're really good.
It's a good time capsule.
I was really
of that era.
surprised. But when you recommended it, I thought, what do you...
Yeah, because you don't take any of my recommendations.
Ba-da-ba-boom.
You don't.
But you were very emphatic. You're like, you better watch this. And
I heard a lot of people talk good things about it, so I will. If somebody says something good about it, I'll give it a try. I'll rewatch the Hervé Villachez thing because I know you watch it, but you'll watch paint dry. You're like my friend Rich. You'll stay through it till the end, no matter what. If I've got it figured out or I'm done. Yeah. I stop with it. But hey, by the way, later today we've got Angela Giampolo joining us, the outlaw, with her whip crack. Yep, here she goes. She's going to give a wrap-up of the LGBT and civil rights legislation that's going on. So that John had teased it earlier about some issues at Grindr, which I've read about, but I've kept an arm's length away from, so she'll fill us in on all that. So that she's on a little later.
So here we are 2 weeks before Christmas. What caught your eye?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
Catch your eye.
Catch more than my eye.
I have a very simple one, and I'm going to post this to our Facebook page, which is focusgroupradio.com for anybody interested. But I was clicking through, and I saw this. It was 8 Christmas cookie and wine pairings. A number of years ago, John and I went to the Jelly Belly factory, and they had wine pairings with jelly beans. And people have done wine pairings with lots of other things, but this was wine pairings with Christmas cookies, which I thought was interesting because a lot of people will serve cookies after a holiday dinner or if you're at a party and there's wine served, and it gives you what different wines would go with the various types of cookies. So, for instance, a chocolate chip cookie, which I know you love, John.
Love it.
You would either do a Cabernet Sauvignon, which is a dark red, or a Merlot, because they said that works good with the tannins and good with the chocolate. Something like a gingerbread cookie, you would do a Zinfandel because of the spice of the Zinfandel.
All right.
With the gingerbread cookie. Butter cookies, you know what the obvious one would be for a butter cookie?
Well, because I just remember you once talking about our good friend Teresa and how she liked a buttery Chardonnay.
So Chardonnay is great with butter cookies or shortbread cookies. And then there's just a whole list of...
what was the... I see that it's the Italian... Was that one of the anisette cookies or anise? What do they call it?
Where's that one?
It's like fourth one down.
The Italian, yeah. Vanille, which is, I believe that's a...
Is that like a
German little sour
or sweet? Not sweet, but sour. Like
I don't like that wine, so I just overlook.
So I wonder what you'd put a Malbec with.
You want me to tell you?
Well, you're the I'm not
Malbec. I'd put that in the garbage.
Oh my God, are you serious?
I don't like Malbec. I think Malbec tastes like a hose. I think it's the kale of wines. I think Malbec is the kale of wines. There's no reason for a Malbec.
There's a button getting pushed somewhere, and it's shocking that seat. When we were over visiting our friends, dinner on Sunday for Bob's official birthday. They had a holiday dinner, and they were
Malbec.
I had
cheap Spanish wine,
and I love the Malbec.
Then
I am so pedestrian. I come from potato farmer roots.
Oh, don't even start that. We went to a party in Rehoboth, and they noticed you right away at your very first dinner with them that you little teetotaler, you didn't touch it, and everyone else tuned up, even your husband Bob.
Until one of the hosts was falling off the chairs laughing, and we had a great time. But wine is...
You don't like wine?
I do. I like this Malbec wine that I had.
Well, then enjoy it. And everyone's got their own taste.
I could drink a lot of glasses, but apparently I'm drinking crap out of a garden hose that's about the kale of wines, right?
It's the kale of wines in my book. Peanut butter cookies you like, right?
I love peanut butter cookies.
So you can drink a port.
Okay.
Or a Cabernet with those as well. Oatmeal cookies, they do a Syrah with that. So there's just, I'll post it, as I said, to our Facebook page, which is focusgroupradio.com. But there's a lot of times you'll grab a cookie at one of these parties and you have a glass of wine, and I just think
that's a smart idea.
If it has a good pairing, it would be fun. So what caught your eye?
All right, mine is completely different.
It always is.
It has nothing to do with a holiday, except unless you consider giving yourself this type of a personal holiday, a holiday. Headline: South Koreans lock themselves up to escape the prison of daily life. For most people, prison is a place to escape from. For South Koreans in need of a break from the demands of everyday life, a day or two in a faux jail is the escape for them. So it's $900 or $90 to spend 24 hours locked in a mock prison. Usually you do 2 or 3 days.
How much?
$90. You get paid you pay $90 to get locked in a room that is 54 square feet. It's a 5 square meter cell, they call it. So since 2013, an organization called Prison Inside Me facility in northeast Hongqiang has hosted more than 2,000 inmates, many of them stressed office workers and students seeking relief from South Korea's demanding work and academic culture. So this one, quoting someone
What
says,
is that picture? If you're watching in the video, what's that picture on the left of?
left is them getting the food through the door. They're locked.
Oh my God.
Thank you for zooming in, John.
Here's your rice bowl.
Here's your food. It goes to like something like a dog door or like what the inmates can get. Yeah.
Why would you do this?
Well,
to avoid.
so apparently in South Korea, and I'm going to, and there's another picture they show is a guy just laying on a tatami mat in front of a window and just crashed out. You're not allowed to talk to anybody. The rules are strict. No talking with other inmates, quote unquote, people who've also paid $90 to be there. No mobile phones or clocks. So no time checks, no email, no messages, no surfing the web, no nothing. You could read a book. I think you might be able to watch TV, but you basically, it's like solitary confinement.
Like a detox.
Yeah. You nailed it. And in many ways, it's an information detox. And to many of the South Korean, the young professionals who do this, they find this to be an incredibly cleansing experience. Now, the gentleman who co-founder No Ji Hyang said the mock prison was. Do you like the way I did that?
You're so full of it. Love to pronounce it.
I knew the minute I tried a name.
I don't know why you do. Just say the guy who founded it.
The South Korean gentleman who founded it,
Yu Young Wow.
No Ji Hyang,
Said
the mock prison was inspired by her husband, a prosecutor who often put in 100-hour work weeks. How 100-hour work week, right? That would be almost sleeping 3 hours a day or something. He said he would rather go into solitary confinement for a week to take a rest and feel better than take a vacation. So South Koreans work an average of 2,024 hours. That's how much an average person in 2017, the third longest after Mexico and Costa Rica. So many people who
Mexico.
Yeah, Mexicans work very hard, apparently. I know you wouldn't believe it by all the rhetoric coming out of the administration, but Mexicans are hardworking.
I thought we were the hardest working in the world.
Nancy and Chuck and Nancy. All right, after a stay in the prison, people say this is not a prison. The real prison is where we return to their normal lives. So there you go.
Where'd you find that piece?
This was from Wired magazine.
Workers Daily.
Here's your copy. What was the Mao Zedong, the little red book?
Yeah.
Oh, I forget the name, but it was the little red book. Like, here you go. Enjoy prison. But, there's a part of me that gets this. So the reason I loved going to London, even if it was like for 3 or 4 days, was there's nothing I could have done there to affect anything over here in the U.S. We were 5 hours out of the time zone. Whatever I did, 5 hours later, someone was waking up or eating breakfast, whatever. And I find that liberating because now I don't have to answer questions. There's no need to answer emails. I did have my data plan. I could check things and maps and stuff.
Anything.
Yeah, I sent you some notes, and but it was more like vacation stuff. Hey, we're doing this. So I think that this prison thing is a little radical. I don't think I want my food put in like a dog through a door, but I get where they're going with it. Let's put it that way.
To me, it also, in some of it, in South Korea and Japan too, living is in very close quarters. Mm-hmm. So something like this for some alone time, I think maybe that's part of it too.
Privacy.
Yeah, it's just to be alone a little bit because you're underfoot. The business birthday today.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
He was either born today, December 12th, or born December 13th. They were back and forth on this in 1925. So he's 93 years old, chairman of the board and CEO of Loral Space and Communications. Is that how you say it? L-O-R-A-L?
Loral. Yeah, I'd say Loral.
So for 34 years, and it's a satellite communications company, and they have ownership interest and affiliates with a bunch of satellite-based communication services. So I was wondering if that's who shot up the satellites for Sirius XM radio. I wonder if they do that sort of thing. I know a lot of it's defense-based. You're laughing.
Who knows who puts those damn things in orbit? Does anybody care anymore?
All I know is you can't get serious if you're under a bridge or something.
But my phone works fine. Well, anyway.
Yeah. So they also do a lot of work with the Spanish and Danish armed services, along with the U.S., which I thought was an odd coupling: the Spains, the Danes, and the Americans. He's currently chairman and CEO of BSL Investments, which is his own investment firm here in Manhattan. He was the largest single contributor to the Democratic Party between 1992 and 1996. He celebrated his 71st birthday with Bill and Hillary Clinton at the White House, and then got in trouble for some campaign donations. There was some sort of scandal where he might have given too much money that wasn't accounted for, and while at the same time sharing ballistic missile technology and guidance systems with the Chinese, which was against the law. So he ended up getting a $14 million fine. But he's still alive. He's one of the he's a World War II vet. He served in the U.S. Army Corps, and still going strong at 93. Bernard Leon Schwartz here in Manhattan. So I thought you could work for a space and communications company. Rocket science, right? Isn't that what that is?
Well, that means I couldn't work for them.
Why?
Oh, my math. My math is bad. I was in a store the other day, and I was talking to the clerk, and I said, if I spent this much on a pair of shoes, and I've had it for 10 years, what was it per year? We both stared at each other, and we both whipped out our phones. And I should be, we used to be able to do that in our head.
You can do that in your head.
Well, I did it.
If you spend $100 for a pair of shoes,
and you had it for 10 years.
What's it a year?
Well, it's $10 a year.
Okay, so what was so tough?
Well, now you get into other numbers. You get, like, let's say you spent $465 and you had it for 8 years.
8 times 4 is what?
32.
So it's about $32, $36, somewhere around there.
It was more like 60. It's more like $64 a year, actually.
What?
If you said 465,
I was doing tens. Okay.
Oh, there you go. There you go. That's
why
that's
are
a,
you?
that's a
is
wrong.
that how you're buying everything?
No. Well, yeah. I'm not going to lie. I amortize it out. If I'm going to spend money on something, I better get my money's worth out of it, right? Well, am I crazy? I mean, money doesn't grow on a tree. There's not an infinite supply of it, right?
Do you do that with all your bike equipment? No.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I try to. So shoes are an investment for multi-years. A helmet is a 3-year investment. And I've really cut back on buying the clothing because it lasts for a long time. Now, the bib shorts, those you got to do every like 2 years. They get kind of, used. So you got to get rid of them, replace them.
Do you wear underwear under those?
No. That's the reason you replace them. They're designed to have, you put something called chamois cream on, which is like an antibacterial.
I'm just because rowing you don't either. But.
No. And in fact, if you do, you're in trouble because that causes a lot of chafing, man. Bad stuff. All righty. So we had our birthday, right?
Yeah, we had our birthday.
Okay.
You weren't paying attention.
I did. It's Laurel Industries.
I don't know.
And I could have been a rocket. I could have worked for them. Maybe I would have been a Xerox guy because I wasn't going to be the guy doing the calculations for getting the rocket to orbit.
You don't know math.
I don't know math, yeah. Hey, as many of you know, Deep Discount is a partner of ours here on the Focus Group. We want you to go to focusgroupradio.com, click on the Deep Discount logo, at Sharky the Shark, and that will take you down the rabbit hole, and you could start buying all kind of things at Deep Discount. We usually focus primarily on movies and television shows, but you can get books, you can get games, you can get a whole bunch of things. And right now it's the last-minute gift sale. So we got a couple of ideas for you for some last-minute gifts. Tim.
So I was down at Rehoboth Beach this weekend with my friends Mark and Carl, who had just gone to Deep Discount and purchased this movie. And we were at a new restaurant called The Pines, and they were sharing with me how much they loved the movie and how I needed to watch it, so I'm going to have to get it. And so it's my recommendation, The Man in an Orange Suit. Have you heard of it?
No. And see, when I saw this in the deck, I didn't bother looking up. I thought, I don't know what this is.
So it stars Julian Morris, Vanessa Redgrave, Oliver Jackson Cohen, and numerous other folks. It's on DVD for priced at $14.85, which is a huge savings. It's over 50% savings, and you'd save that much as well if you bought it on Blu-ray for under $17. But essentially, it's during World War II, two men fall in love and risk their lives concealing their relationship. 60 years later, and this is where I guess the intrigue comes in. 60 years later, a more socially acceptable contemporary gay relationship is jeopardized by the consequences of the first story's events. So it's based on a novel by Patrick Gale. and it was distributed through PBS Direct. So it just came out this year in 2018 of June. So they loved it. They both spoke about it.
When was the production year again?
It was this year.
It was this year.
Well, it was released this year. It's a British film, or a British TV drama.
They loved it.
They loved it.
And I know Carl and Mark actually, they're good consumers of quality media, right?
Mark is more like you, that he likes lots of stuff. Carl's like me. So when Carl says he liked it, I'm like, okay. Because if Carl liked it, then I know it was worth probably. Mark is like you. Everything's wonderful.
That's why I love them so much, because they both embody the two of us.
That's what I recommend.
All right, so the film that I picked that I think you might consider as a last-minute gift, again, when I was talking earlier in the show about traveling and how I catch up on a lot of things, I also discover things that I haven't had the time to check out or whatever. But we flew Virgin, and one of the in-flight movies they had out of 140, Bob pauses on this one, and he says, "Oh, we should watch this. I've heard a lot of good things about it." It's Spike Lee's film, and it's called Black Klansman. And it's about a cop in 1979 named Ron Stallworth, played by John David Washington, who becomes the first African-American cop to serve in Colorado Springs. Remember, it's 79. He very improbably draws the duty of engineering an infiltration of the local chapter of the Ku Klux Klan. And just as stunningly, with his white Jewish partner, who's played by Adam Driver, Kylo Ren on the new Star Wars trilogy, acting as the front man of the two of them, they carry off this infiltration of the KKK all the way to the level of the head, David Duke, coming out to Colorado Springs to indoctrinate or to in the investiture, where they get to put the hood on, whatever. And that guy, David Duke, is played by Topher Grace, who it's so weird to see him in this role, because you remember him from that 70s.
Is this based on a true story?
Well, it says here, Alec Baldwin's in the movie as well. It says, and Spike Lee says, it's based on some for real, SH beep comedy. So the thing about this movie is that there are moments where you laugh out loud. It's laugh out loud hilarious, and then it flips, and suddenly you realize why you're laughing and what you're laughing at. And it's really well done. And the end in particular, because it comes all the way up to the David Duke character coming out to Colorado Springs to get this Ron Stallworth to join. And then it transitions from there to an interesting montage at the ending where you realize that we're not that far away, at least in this telling of the movie, or how Spike Lee sees it, from where we are right now. Because there's some footage at the end. Well, I should not even say. I'm going to leave it at that. But it's called Black Klansman.
You liked it?
Yeah, I did. I liked it a lot. I really did. I was surprised. And in fact, as Bob said, it got critical acclaim for a reason. So the movie this week, sir.
So the movie this week is Colette on Blu-ray. And the description is, and I've not seen this. Have you seen this?
No, but I love the description, actually.
So it's after marrying a successful Parisian writer known commonly as Willie, Sidonie, I'll try Sidonie Gabrielle Colette. Is that
Sidonie Gabrielle Colette, very nice.
Colette, is that?
But you know her real name.
It is Keira Knightley.
There you go.
She's transplanted from her childhood home in rural France to the intellectual and artistic splendor of Paris, or Paris. Soon after, she convinces Colette to ghostwrite for him. And so she pens a semi-autobiographical novel with witty and brazen country girl named Claudine. So it becomes a sensation, and I guess all sense of comedy ensues, do you think? Or do you think it's more
But the end of that description,
drama?
so Colette's fight over creative ownership and gender roles drives her to overcome societal constraints. So her partner, boyfriend, whatever, Willie, she ghostwrites this Claudine for him, and when it's discovered that she's the actual author, I think she has to fight for credit A. But I think it's worth seeing. I like some of these.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, comedy was the wrong word, but it was more of what happens with these ghostwriter things in terms of who gets credit, who doesn't. So.
It reminds me of another story that we saw and we recommended once. It was the woman that painted those big eye paintings.
Yes.
Because the husband took the credit for it, and they had to go to court, and the judge made him, you
have a good memory. You're exactly right. So that's the release this week is Colette. So John recommended Black Klansman on Blu-ray, and I recommended The Man in the Orange Shirt And the new release is Colette on Blu-ray, which looks interesting. Neither John and I have seen it, but it looks worth a view. Right, Garrett?
Thanks, Deep Discount.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have the Outlaw joining us. Angela Giampolo is going to give us a wrap-up for the year-end of some LGBT and civil rights legislation. So stay with us. We'll be right back with the Outlaw.
Brought to you by the Volkswagen Tiguan. Visit VW.com to learn more. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Try, really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
Welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash with Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is where you need to go to find out all about the show. All platforms are on, both audio and video. And in fact, everything's there. You don't even have to leave the site. You can listen to the show or watch the show on YouTube, depending on what you do. And all past shows are there as well. So doing a year-end wrap-up with us is our very own outlaw, and that's Angela Giampolo. And she's going to be joining us to talk about 3 stories that may or may not be under the radar for you, but they're LGBTQ focused. And Angela comes to us from Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. So do we have Angela on the line? We got her. Big thumbs up. So
don't forget sisterly affection.
And sisterly affection.
Oh, there she goes.
Good, Garrett. I like that. The little whip. Let's do that again just to remind Angela. Yeah, she's the
there
outlaw and sisterly affection. So welcome, Angela.
Thank you. And I have a guest, Nico.
Oh, there's Nico. I should have brought Spiky.
That's your Chihuahua?
Yes, they call me a pit bull in a Chihuahua's body. So I got a Chihuahua.
You know what I love about Chihuahuas? They seem so unfazed by the things their owners do. Like Nico gets held up to the camera. Nico's like, oh, I get to be held by mom, so that's okay.
How old's Nico?
He's a rescue, so they think 10.
Okay, mine was a rescue too, and they thought he was around 7, but I just had him at the vet. They think he's 17 now, and he's still as spry as can be. Flies around.
Does he have teeth? You have all his teeth?
Well, no. That's what happened. Is he had 11 pulled last month, but he's back to his old self. It's amazing to me how these little dogs.
I know.
They said they can live to in their 20s. These Chihuahuas. I didn't realize that. So.
And yours is a rescue, so they could probably live, if they were treated better, live even longer.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So, Angela, you're coming to us with some interesting stories from the LGBTQ news, and the first one up I was intrigued by, and it's an acronym story, and it's about, I guess it's a local council in London has decided to do some stuff with the LGBT acronym.
I can't believe it took this long. I mean, it's phenomenal. So we have LGBT, right, which everybody knows, LGBT, maybe LGBTQ, but everybody knows LGBT. And what they don't know is that there's like this 10-letter gargantuan, like very, very difficult, and I gave an entire seminar on this and intersectionality, but it's LGBTQQIP2S.
I'm already out. I pulled the ripcord on that one. Oh my God.
Right. I mean, it's the LGBTQ, which we know, but Q is questioning. The other Q is queer. I is intersex. P pansexual. The 2 is for two-spirited, like shaman, and the other A is androgynous and asexual. So that's sort of the real acronym that we've been dealing with for years, and nobody even knows it. And now this place in the middle of nowhere, England, has decided to just shorten it all and say LGB &T, which is just, I cannot believe I didn't think of this sooner. The transgender community has never felt a part of the LGB community. There are a ton of gay men that say they don't understand transgender people. I deal with it on radios all the time. I'm on with gay hosts, and they're like, I can get with it all except the trans. So even within our community, the trans has always felt separate. We haven't spent money on them. We don't champion for their causes the way we do ours. And what this is really getting at, though, is that sexual orientation and who I go to bed with at night is completely different than my gender identity and whether I am a man in a woman's body. And so that's what the ampersand is for. But I think it speaks to so much more.
It was a very simple thing. Do you think it will catch on?
I hope it does. I think it's exactly what the transgender community needs to feel legitimized, that they are separate but within. LGBT just has never rung true for me, even.
You know, this is going to come across, and I don't want it to, but it will. Have you ever met a two-spirited person? Or is a two-spirit person?
Two-spirited, right. So
have you ever met a
only
two-spirited
because I went
person?
to Gay World Pride in Toronto, and so there isn't anyone within that alphabet soup that I didn't meet. But if you think about it, within the shaman world, only someone who is truly two-spirited and or bisexual, if you will, could be a shaman. They surpass gender. They surpass wanting to be with either someone of the opposite sex or same sex. So the definition of being a shaman or someone higher above in a village has always been this, that you are two-spirited, you are not one-spirited, you transcend spirit. So they tended to be all Native American, the ones that I met.
So who comes up with the 12 letters or whatever? Where does that come from?
I didn't vote on that. No one.
You know, who said that it's LGBTQIP2SAA? Yeah. Who?
Right.
Where does that come from? Who is it from? One of our LGBT groups, or where did all the letters come from?
I mean, when I had to give the seminar on it a couple of years, I tried to trace back the origin of that. And from what I could deduce, it's just been added on over time. And that really we're looking at a binary world, right? Just straight gay. And it started there. And so LGBT not being heterosexual, then we're this. And then we added on anyone who didn't fit in this binary world of either gay, straight, got lumped in with the LGBT side. So asexual. The Toronto Gay Pride had the largest parade ever in the world of asexual contingents, you know, and they were carrying signs, I love cake, not sex, and, you know, things like that. I mean, I do too, but they're not mutually exclusive. But so I don't know who voted on it, the origin of it, but this is where we're at.
This has always been, I believe, and having come at it from the corporate side, and John and I had dealt with this in the boardroom and trying to market to the LGBT or the G&L consumer, as we called it. When you start to subset everything, you end up with nothing. Mm-hmm. And when you keep adding all of these letters, it makes it very difficult, even from a legislation standpoint, if you're trying to talk to Congress and you just get them beyond LGB, T, and then you start adding all the other letters in. I just don't understand what it. I see nothing wrong with just keeping it gay.
Well, actually, Angela, at the top of this article, you said it's a brilliant solution and you wish you had thought of it, and I agree with you because it's so simple the way this Middlesbrough Council defined it. It's, you know, sexual preference and gender identity. So LGB. And gender identity, trans, and then whatever, you know, acronym after that. But I like that. I think this is an interesting solution, and I get it right away. I'm like, oh, I'm in this side of the, I'm on that side, I'm on the left side of the ampersand, and someone could be on the right side of the ampersand, but it's neither side is bad nor good. But this is cool. I wonder if it will go further than just the UK, and if we start seeing it pop up here, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, just like here in Philadelphia, we redid the rainbow flag and added the black and brown stripes, and that has gone further than Philadelphia. And there's such a small council. I mean, I don't know, but at least from my point of view, I plan on sharing the story widely and seeing if it gains traction.
But you don't agree with the flag with the brown and black. That was a dumb idea.
I agree with it greatly.
You agree with it?
I mean, yeah, why not?
The colors had nothing to do with race.
It's about all inclusiveness.
Well,
and
how come there's no white stripe? Why is there no white stripe?
The wife of the the partner of the founder of the gay flag approved of the reason behind it. They didn't just do it. It really, they spoke to a lot of people within the higher ups of the LGBT community. And
dumb idea.
At least here in Philadelphia with our race issues, it can't hurt.
Well, I think it's a stupid idea because you brought race into the flag. Flag had nothing to do with race.
I love Tim.
and Tim loves the Andy Griffith Show, and right now
No,
he's on his
I'm totally
soapbox.
serious about it. I thought it brought race into an area where it didn't need to be brought into. The fact that somebody gets kicked out of a bar doesn't mean I got to change the colors of the flag.
All right, changing topics. Turning. We're
A whole different show.
This next one you found was, this is really right up your alley because it's very legal, and it also goes right to the core of a lot of issues that are that we're seeing pop up in our highly politically correct world, and that's Harvard University was sued over single-sex club crackdown. I didn't know what the headline meant at first until I read this one sentence. Under this policy, students who join single-sex clubs, aka a fraternity or sorority, as one example, cannot receive endorsement letters from college deans for postgraduate fellowships. This was an odd one right off the bat, and I was wondering why Harvard would ever institute a policy like that to begin with, because aren't we allowed to choose a club? So what's your take on this?
Well, and the sanctions are even worse than that. So they're coming out of Harvard. They could never get a Rhodes Scholarship or a Marshall Scholarship, and if they happen to play sports, they could never be the captain or head any sport that they play on, or other club that they're a part of. So, not for nothing, but I played basketball my entire life, and I was on the girls' team. So if I am in a single-sex club at Harvard, I can't be the captain of my all-girls basketball team. I mean, how does that even makes sense? Like, unless sports are co-ed at Harvard, and I just don't know it. But I'm all about being politically correct, but at some point the slippery slope goes too far. And in this case, I mean, as a gay person, I choose to go to gay clubs. If I have to go to if I have to hang out with lawyers, I'm going to the Gay and Lesbian Lawyers of Philadelphia. Why? Because I don't even like lawyers, so they might as well be gay. I mean, if I choose to segregate myself within a group, be it a women's group, a gay bar served by a gay guy drinking a gay martini, let me do that, but so I think there's a fix to it, which I can describe later. But what are your thoughts on just the policy?
Well, I guess my question was, if you were and you mentioned it if you're on the women's basketball team, or if you were on the men's water polo team or the women's field hockey team, those are all same-sex or single-sex organizations, no different than a fraternity or sorority.
As far as I know, they still are at Harvard, yeah.
Right. So would that preclude you as well for not getting the recommendation because you were a member of a single-sex organization or club on campus as a sport?
Nope. But if I'm a part of any other group other than the basketball team, I can't be the captain, which I was in my high school. So it doesn't make sense.
What was the purpose of this? Do you know?
They're to diminish assaults, to diminish segregation, and what they deem to be either misogynistic and race issues. They're basically nobody can self-segregate on the campus. Everyone has to be together, and somehow that will help with the inclusion. So I'm trying to legislate inclusion, if you will. But I mean, my thought on the fix of this is, if I want to be in a sorority, or if I want to be in a fraternity, or I want to be on the women's team, which there have been lawsuits, with the women wanting to be on a football team, but it's predominantly men. So I get it, but unless the club is other than gender-based, so let's say the math club or a chess club, so having those clubs must be both genders are allowed to join the math club. But if it's just a sorority or fraternity, I don't think women should be joining the fraternity. I think and again, it's a slippery slope because you're going to have to determine what is a club that both genders should be able to participate in, and then what is solely based on gender and a group wanting to get together, like the Asian Bar Association, the African American Bar Association. I mean, there are groups that self-segregate, so why not on campus?
Angela, on one of your previous visits, we talked about unintended consequences for a law or for a rule, and I have to say, this really smacks of maybe it was a well-intentioned thought process, but its end product is so sloppily executed. In fact, a lawyer for some of the sororities and fraternities at Harvard, Stanton Jones, says Harvard should, quote, get out of the business of trying to dictate who students spend their time with off campus. And I thought that was isn't that like, aren't we allowed to socialize and form groups and, and I don't know. And I just think the insane idiocy of, let's say as your example's perfect, or Tim's in a fraternity and Tim wants to be the head of the rowing club.
Captain of the rowing team.
But you can't be because you're in a fraternity, but most of the team is probably in a frat on some level.
Or they're all men.
Oh, they're all men, yes. So this just, I don't know. I just think this sends an interest, well,
the other thing that I think they'll run into is there are some fraternities and sororities that are traditionally African American or Jewish, and I wonder what that then does to the program, because then that throws another level of complexity into it.
So what if I want to be in a Jewish organization? I'm not practicing the faith. I understand it. It's a beautiful religion, but it's just, yeah. Slippery slope is the great word, Angela. All right, we're going to move on to this last piece, which I was traveling this past weekend, and I caught a couple of news bits about it, and there's a couple things that I think our listeners may or may not know. For one, Grindr was recently sold to a Chinese game company, and its president had a post that was recently put up but then taken down, where he talked about marriage as a holy matrimony between a man and a woman, and he was talking about his personal feelings, even though he does support or says he supports gay marriage. But a whole big backlash popped up about this. I think the bigger story behind it, though, is who owns this platform now, and I think, Angela, in one of your notes to us, you jokingly typed, are gay men going to boycott Grindr? So what do you think of this? So what do you think of this? Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just said, what do you think of what's going on here?
And interestingly, the story was broken by a news outlet owned by Grindr. So again, it's a Chinese conglomerate that owns a lot of things, and inadvertently, seeing as they own so many companies, one didn't realize that Grindr was also owned by their same parent company, and they're the ones who broke this on the CEO. The latest, update, if you will, of importance that I was able to find over the last week is that the head of communications of Grindr stepped down, and his statement said, "As an out and proud gay man, madly in love with a man I don't deserve, I think you should look into his self-worth there. But I refuse to compromise my own values or professional integrity to defend a statement that goes against everything I am and everything I believe." So C-level management stepped down as a result. And I mean, I think it's important to know, HRC has been for 15 years judging and analyzing companies to see how they fall on LGBT values. And I don't think, I think very few people knew that the sale had taken place, let alone to a president that was homophobic. And I haven't eaten Chick-fil-A in 7 years, but I doubt gay men are going to stop using Grindr.
My takeaway, similar to John's about the fact that the Chinese bought it. I had two other surprises. One of them was they said it's 3.8 million daily users. I mean, there's probably 3.8 million in Philly using it. I was surprised it was so little for worldwide. And then where it said that marriage for many is the end goal of the app. That came from the communications person.
Well, that's because
so that was my takeaway. But I wondered about, I still don't eat Barilla pasta. I don't do the Chick-fil-A either.
I don't buy gas at ExxonMobil.
Yeah.
So I wonder about this Grindr issue, because I think you guys both touched on it. I'm not sure. Other than what he said, I'm not sure anybody else knows any of the other backstory.
Yeah. Right.
Do you think it'll get legs, Angela?
I think amongst people like ourselves, I've advertised on Grindr, actually, as Philly gay lawyer, not my face. So men, when they're on the app, have no idea it's a woman advertising to them. But and in speaking with Scruff, not as a plug to Scruff, but the demographics are totally different. The people on Scruff tend to interface for more than 20 minutes. So they're actually talking. Then they talk to each other for multiple days in the sense of, like you said, not maybe marriage, but definitely developing a friendship. The average salary is over $100,000. And so I've definitely, just as an advertiser, seen a huge discrepancy between the type of people that use both apps. And so I think the people that meet the Scruff demographic will be able to say, you know what, I'm not going to touch Grindr. Scruff is fine. I'm meeting people, my age. The age demographic tends to be 28 and plus on Scruff. So I don't think everybody will even find out or care, but I think some people will make a conscientious choice.
So you've advertised on both. Have you picked up business from Grindr and from Scruff from the advertising?
Much different on Grindr. Not a lot of business, a lot of young people, a lot of immigration issues, especially with this administration, because I've been advertising for a while. There's nothing I can do to help most of the people that come to me through Grindr. But with Scruff, it's estate planning, and I'm buying a property, and wills and adoptions, and my partner and I, and it's a whole level of other reach out on Scruff versus Grindr.
You mentioned, and this is not one of the topics you brought, but when you mentioned immigration, I don't know the law, but if you are a U.S. citizen and you marry, I'll just use Mexico as an example, if you marry your partner that's Mexican, because you're a U.S. citizen, are they automatically okay, or are you saying there's an issue with immigration?
I think there's a waiting period or something, but they will eventually.
No, it's automatic.
Really?
If you have a bona fide relationship, so to go back to the 1974 movie, Green Card. But if you have a bona fide relationship and an American citizen marries someone on soil, even if they've overstayed, I try to work with people so they don't overstay. But one of the constitutional rights of marriage is to not be separated from your spouse. So the minute you get married, that person cannot be deported. But then we go through the INS process of showing Facebook posts, cute text messages, the wedding photos, right? So they really want to make sure you didn't just meet this hot Brazilian guy at the club and you want to keep dating, so you're marrying him. They want to show the bona fide relationship just like a straight couple would. But the people that are reaching out to me are the young Latinos, 19-year-old Latinos that may be here illegally. Those are the people. So it's not an American reaching out to me on Grindr. Yeah.
Okay. Because I wondered about that, because I saw some story about a guy and his wife, and he was an immigrant, and he was sent back to either Peru or Mexico, and I wondered if they were married, why they sent him back, what the issue was. But I don't know enough about that stuff. So, do you have big plans for the Christmas holiday?
I do. Well, we're staying local. We're hosting my wife's side of the family on the 25th, and then the 26th we're driving down to Chesapeake Bay, Virginia.
Oh, good.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. And I love your fake snowy thing you guys got behind.
Fake.
We're in Aspen.
We're in Aspen, right?
We're in Telluride. We're in Telluride.
I meant to make fun of you the minute I got on. I forgot.
Well, you can do that anytime.
Anytime.
We want to thank you for joining us, and thanks for the wrap up. And we'll see you in the new year.
We'll see you in 2019.
Right. And thanks for bringing Nico.
Let me wake up Nico.
Oh, Nico, Happy New Year.
It's Angela
Bye,
Giampolo.
guys.
You can find out information and how to contact her through our Facebook page, which is Focus Group Radio. We're going to take a quick break and then do a short wrap up. Stay with us.
Brought to you by the 7-seater Volkswagen Atlas. Life's as big as you make it. Visit VW.com to learn more. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
And in business a week, I got more money than I know what to do with.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
Herrera Rocher. He is doing well.
We have time to fix it. Welcome back to the Focus Group. Garrett, I'm going to have you do that one more time. We want to thank Angela Giampolo, the outlaw. There might be some Christmas cheer going on in the booth.
Darren?
Well, I was playing the intro music. It's the same thing.
Yeah, you got.
Oh, no. Yeah, okay, wink, wink.
Yeah.
Do you have a full board of sound effects back there?
Yeah, a whole keyboard full.
Really?
Yeah, he can make custom sound. It's like in our old digs. Yeah.
Oh.
I like money. I like that one too.
Things going down there.
Oh, John and Garrett, they have a hole. It's raining cash.
That's what I need for when I tell my jokes. The studio audience.
Nicely done. We just don't. And
maybe in the new year we can use some of this.
I think we have to work with the boys in the booth and start thinking of some ways of spicing up the show, because I love audio stuff like that. When we were first over on satellite, all our producers always talked about imaging and about just how much fun you could have with sound effects, and
we had that box.
Yes. It's called. Tim found this thing called the Gay Chatterbox.
Yeah.
And it's
I can't believe we've never used it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 25 buttons, I think, on it, and each one says something.
Yeah.
Hey, girl, or it's not you. It's not you. It's no one hates you. What was that? A homophobia thing?
Yeah, I can't remember the.
Anyway,
but
I recorded them.
Oh, you did?
Years ago. I put a mic up to the thing, I recorded it, and I was supposed to give it to Katie back in the day to have her fix it up. And then Matt was like, "I'll take those, I'll fix them up." But we could have a soundboard. They're not all funny, but I think
they're not all funny.
But Tim had thought of this idea where you could just push the buttons in sequence,
make different sentences,
and have a whole conversation happen, right?
Which would be good for you.
You're always thinking like that.
Don't you think it'd be good? It'd be good for you. So we want to thank everybody for joining us today. We want to thank our friends at Deep Discount. Be sure to go to focusgroupradio.com and click on the Deep Discount logo, as well as our friends at Volkswagen of America. There's, as with most car companies, there's some great sales going on right now, and Volkswagen has some good deals going on their new SUVs, which are the Atlas and the Tiguan, which are doing quite well. Nobody's buying sedans anymore. I don't know if you know
would you extend that to say that are people still buying wagons?
Not really. It's not anything. It's not that they're not good products. It's just the taste of the American public. It reminds me of the mid 80s to early 90s where everybody bought minivans because of the ease of entry and exit. Now everybody's buying these SUVs or crossovers. And
so what happens when
Ford and Chevrolet both announced they're really not making many cars anymore. They're making a lot of the SUVs or crossovers.
So what happens when gas jumps to $4.50 a gallon?
It's not going to under President Trump.
But that was the last one that kind of crushed the SUV thing and had the car companies go back to sedans and gas efficient vehicles.
I think it's temporary. A lot of companies have said they're going to stay with. I know Toyota and some of the other Asians have said they're going to stay with sedans as well. Yeah. But there's a lot of companies that are deciding it's just not profitable. So, but anyway, you can get sedans at Volkswagen as well. So go to VW.com and remember to don't text and drive.
Oh, boy.
We didn't even drink.
The red light is on, and it's like...
I was looking at you fumbling around over there.
Can't have enough hats, gloves, and shoes. You should get accessories, darling. Don't text.
Don't text and drive, arrive alive. Everyone have a good week. What are you fumbling with over there, babe?
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.